Hello and welcome to the Pre-Chiro podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ben Glass, and we're just having meaningful conversations with chiropractors in the field who are going to hopefully ease your path of becoming a chiropractor and maybe uh, identify some resources that are out there and just share some insights of their experience and practice. Today, we have a professional chiropractor, been in practice for many years, Dr. Judy. Can you kind of just introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background as you reflect back on it as a chiropractor?
Okay, I'm Dr. Judy Campanelli, been a chiropractor. It'll be 30 years this December, which I couldn't be happier about. I don't think my story might be like a lot of people out there. Like I wasn't born into a chiropractic family. Chiropractic wasn't on my list of things to become. I kind of I don't know, haphazardly maybe stumbled upon a chiropractic path, but I could not be more grateful that that is how it happened for me because it has brought such meaning to my life. And really, I feel like it is my identity at this point. Graduated from the Pennsylvania College of Straight Chiropractic in 1992. Went there because my field chiropractor said I should go wherever Joe Strauss was teaching. And then just had the benefit of not just his mentorship, which was extraordinary in my life, but others who mentored me and kind of held my hand. Um, and I've done a lot of things in chiropractic since. I've edited books. I've chaired a chiropractic college. I was the first president of a national chiropractic association. And I'm currently now in my sixth year of writing a monthly column for the International Chiropractic Pediatric Association. So I've done lots of things and it's brought real meaning to my life, and was happy to accept this invitation to speak with you, Ben, so that maybe we touch somebody along the way who is looking for a way to leave a mark on humanity and give themselves in service to a better world.
Absolutely. Can you reflect back on how your educational experience was in chiropractic education? I imagine it was a lot different just because you were at a college that was called Straight Chiropractic College, and just
Right.
having somebody like Joe Strauss as a teacher. Can you talk about maybe what was special about that time?
I'd
Just
love
so,
to.
yeah.
Yeah. So, as an undergrad, I was a pre med student. I was at Carnegie Mellon University. I wanted to be a medical doctor. I had some misdiagnosis of myself, and just never, it just left me with not like I was going to sue anybody, but I just never wanted to do that to anybody else. Um, I later came to realize that diagnosis is tricky business. It's difficult to do. Even the best places probably only get it right maybe 30-40% of the time. It's trial and error, and that just didn't suit me and my personality. So when I made the decision to go to chiropractic school, it was not just a decision to go to chiropractic, it was a decision to not go to medicine. And so I was very clear on that I didn't want to diagnose people. I think that's important, but I think there's a field that's already doing it as well as they can. So I made a real decision to go to chiropractic, and chiropractic is different. And so when I decided that, I wanted to go to a school that was teaching the kind of chiropractic that I had in my mind that was not medical. And so off to Pennsylvania College of Straight Chiropractic I went, and truly, it's no longer in existence. Let's be sure to tell everybody that. So if they look to go to that school, they'll be disappointed. It
Mm-hmm.
closed in 1995. Um, but the experience was really extraordinary because it was not medical in nature at that time, as schools have come along now in the last 30 years. It seems like more and more medical stuff is being added to the education. But for me, it wasn't like that. We took courses in diagnosis, in cardiac pathology, and in all the systems, physiology and pathology, but we were never taught or required to do that kind of diagnosing in the health center. In fact, we didn't even call it a clinic. It was a health center, and what they did there was strictly chiropractic, the location, analysis, and correction of vertebral subluxation. So it was a really great. I didn't even learn physiotherapeutics. So they didn't teach us. You had to do that outside of school if you wanted to do that. Ultrasounds and heat diathermy and those kinds of things. They weren't even available at my school. It was strictly chiropractic, and consequently, I think they developed some of the greatest adjusters in the profession, because we focused on technique and location analysis and correction of subluxation specifically and exclusively, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And that was a really great experience for me. And it's how I've practiced for the last 30 years. I don't do anything but correct vertebral subluxation.
Yeah, I think that's just a great segue. If you could reflect on just having Joe Strauss as a mentor, maybe talking about, I imagine you were right there around him when he was developing his blue books, and obviously you practiced with him. So can you give us some insights and real specific details as to like what the person's experience was coming to see you guys maybe back then, and how that's evolved, or how it stayed true to how you started back then?
So I love when Joe tells the story, which he has many, many times. So I go to Pennsylvania, Penn State, we called it, right? I went to Penn State, started there, actually started as a part-time student. I was working for Merck Pharmaceuticals as a writer at the time. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in writing and editing, mostly because it was fashionable at the time to go with something other than to go to medical school with something other than a biology degree. And English came easy to me, so I majored in English. And so I graduated with some skills in editing and writing. And I went to Merck, worked at Merck as a writer, technical writer, and then started chiropractic school part-time, which was amazing because Merck was paying for my schooling, right? That was great. But it would have taken, I'd probably still be in school if I was going part-time. So I eventually started working part-time and went to school full-time. But so in 1990, I started full-time and I took my first philosophy class with Joe Strauss, and that's actually when I met him. And at the time, what he was doing was teaching from a like 3-ring binder. He had already written his first book and was using it as the text for the class, but it had not been printed. And so as I went through the class, I, read the book, obviously, but I made notations, edits. Believe it or not, I can't even believe I did it now. I was just a student, but it was my training. So I was making edits. And at the end of the class, which I did get an A in the class before I handed the book back to him and said, "This is a really good book. You should look over some of the suggestions I made and maybe get it into print." Which, when I tell it, is really how obnoxious of me. But when he tells it, it's super cute. But he did do that. And then he went on to write 24 other books. So he's a genius. I don't know how he's done that in one of the busiest practices, in the country at the time. And writing all these books, but he had a real heart, still has a real heart for the philosophy, and the importance that philosophy has, the underpinnings of our practice. He's not just a heady guy. It's if we can't make philosophy practical in our practice, then what good is it, right? And so a lot of what he taught us and a lot of what's in his books are big ideas about why we don't need to diagnose in practice, right? And why we can stay in our lane and keep to vertebral subluxation correction. I say it probably every day in my practice. It's not that other things aren't good for you. Of course they are. Nutrition and well, all kinds of things, right? I mean, acupuncture, massage, there are lots of things that are good for our bodies, but you can get them somewhere else. There are other professions that already do those things. What they don't do is a specific analysis of the spine for vertebral subluxation and correct that vertebral subluxation when it exists in a gentle and specific way. And so, and that's really what our philosophy is all about. If you look at even Stevenson's, which obviously predates Joe Strauss's 25 books, they never talk about health or diagnosis or the treatment of disease. That all from a very early time in our profession, we realized that was the constructs of a different profession, medicine. Mm-hmm. So if that's medicine, what is chiropractic? And that's what our philosophy tells us. And not just about subluxation and the fact that subluxation isn't good for people, but why that is. Why is subluxation not good for people? And the impact that the correction of subluxation can have on mankind. And that's huge. And as I started, as I said at the very beginning, like it's really brought meaning to my life. Mm-hmm. So.
Mm-hmm. Right on.
Did I answer your question?
So you studied English in college and then you went and became a chiropractor, and you've helped, you said, books be written. You've obviously been around an author for a really long time, working in a practice with somebody who published 25 books. Where's your heart at today? Where do you see the profession at? Because this conversation is really meant to help a high school or a college student learn about the profession. So just given your perspective and given your experience with the profession, who are you working with today, or who are you paying attention to today? What are some of the events or some of the schools or some of the organizations that you care about the most?
So, all right.
Or that you would, you would recommend.
So there's so much, right? Yeah, I get it. What would I tell someone in high school? What I think I would start with is just like I do in my office. When you've come to my office for the first time and you're like, for whatever reason you've come, you can come for any kind of reason. You can come because your mom and dad made you. You can come because your friends come. You can come because you have headaches. It doesn't matter why you come. My job on your first visit is to help you understand what chiropractic can do for you. What are the benefits of chiropractic? And frankly, everyone can benefit from chiropractic care. So I think that what I would start with is, and what I tell chiropractors, is ultimately important, is forget about all it's very in depth, right? There's a lot to learn and there's a lot to know. But the most amazing thing for me is how cool our bodies are. Our bodies are meant to be awesome. They are awesome, and they're meant to stay awesome through our lives. And that's really what I write about in my monthly column for the ICPA. It's called Your Amazing Body. And every month I just pick something else about our body that's really cool, that maybe we don't think so much about. I mean, what we do, it seems like today is focus on what's wrong, right? Whether that's in the world or in our bodies or in our relationships, we look at what's wrong and we forget about all the great things, all the amazing things. And specifically in our bodies are supposed to be good. They're supposed to work, right? And yet people go to doctors all the time and they talk about what doesn't work, And even at that, like if you think about, oh, my hip hurts, how much of your body is still really amazing, doing incredible things without you even thinking about it, right? That's how it's supposed to be. That's how you're designed. And all of that works because of your nerve system. Your brain is connected to your body, and it's constantly in communication with your body, telling your body how to maybe change things if they're not quite the way they should be. And then your body gives your brain feedback, and your brain uses that and is in constant communication with itself, even when you're sleeping, right? And it uses your nerve system to do that. And your nerve system is so important. It's protected by bone, the brain by the skull, but your spinal cord by your spine. And so that's really why the chiropractor focuses on the spine. It's not about the bones so much as it is about the placement of the bones or the structure of the bones impact on the nerve system. So, people think chiropractor's back or chiropractor's bones. No. When you think about your chiropractor, you should be thinking about your nerve system or your communication system, and how if your spine is not aligned properly, you can't possibly be the person that you were meant to be. Your nerve system, I tell people all the time, like, think about, for me, my earliest childhood memory, I'm maybe like 3 years old, and somebody comes up behind me and lifts me up, and I look into this cage and I see this dog, and I remember saying, "Daddy, can we keep her?" I mean, that's almost 60 years ago. And I go right back to that SPCA that we were in. I can smell the smells. I can hear the sounds, because that's stored in my nerve system, right? My nerve system, it's running my body, sure, but it's really integral to my whole experience in life. Like that makes me happy. That memory makes me happy, and it's available there in that incredible nerve system that we have. And so if we want to live our best lives, if we want to have our happiest, most productive, impactful lives, then we have to care for our nerve systems. It's critical that we do that. And that's where chiropractic lives. That's what chiropractic can do for people. It's not about, oh, my back hurts. If you're waiting until your back hurts or you have a headache or something, you're missing the boat. You're totally missing the boat. So we recommend that people see their chiropractor regularly, because you're beating yourself up every day. You're constantly physical, chemical, and emotional stresses constantly impacting your body. And what chiropractic can do is take away some of that, manage some of that, So we recommend, come regularly, have your spine checked, get an adjustment if necessary. Maybe you don't need an adjustment. I don't know, but we got to check you. And then clear up that nerve system so you can be the most amazing you that you were meant to be. And that's what we do in our office. That's all we do in our office. And it makes for a really fun, important, and people pay us for it. So that's like the incredible thing, right? Like in making a living, helping others, and changing our world. I would think that would be something everybody would want to do. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe somebody would just want to not care about others. But that's your choice. But if this is something that you think you would want to do, I would highly recommend. I hate to suggest places and people that are to the exclusion of everybody else. Like myself, I had to find my own way. But I think that people are put in our paths to help us along. And so if you're watching Ben's podcasts and listening to his podcasts or watching these videos, and this is something that resonates with you, then I would suggest that you look into Sherman College of Chiropractic. They are a sister school of the school I went to. They are as closely aligned with the kind of education that I received, and I believe that they would be happy to hold your hand and help you through the process. Listen, it's not easy. Chiropractic school is going to be challenging. But I think that in the end, it's so well worth it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it.
Mhm. If you are holding a student's hand and mentoring them through the process, they've already committed to go to chiropractic school, they're in chiropractic school now, they see the writing you've done, they want to be practicing their expression of chiropractic through the written form. What are some prompts that you can maybe share with them that guides your monthly column that can maybe guide their monthly reflections all the way through school?
So, it's funny that you asked that, Ben, because every month I go, what am I going to write about this month? And I just feel like life is full of things if we look for them. Life is full of good things if we look for them. Life is full of, who was it that said, the world is not as it is, it's as we perceive it to be, right?
Mhm.
Is it a hostile place or is it a friendly place? That's for you to decide. So
Mhm.
you see what you look for.
Mhm.
I do think that that's something that Sherman College teaches its students. They literally teach them to any object that they might come across. I was just at Lyceum a few weeks back, and one of their philosophy, the great Dr. Bill Deccan, gave a talk in at a one of the sessions there called Infinite Principles, where multiple people get up and they just get 15 or 20 minutes to talk about a chiropractic principle of their choice. And so Bill got up and he walks up there with a briefcase. Like, what the heck is he doing? And he starts pulling things out of this briefcase one at a time. He pulls out a lamp with a light bulb, and he makes a connection to chiropractic with it, and he pulls out a bowling ball and he makes a connection to chiropractic with it. So, and that's what he does in one of his courses. He helps his students see chiropractic in just about anything that they can encounter. And so
Mhm.
as I'm writing, I kind of do the same thing. I have a friend who is currently struggling with dementia. And so my last column was about how our brain works, how fascinating it is that our brain works, and that it shouldn't, it's less surprising that something like dementia can occur when you realize how sophisticated and how difficult and how amazing that it works the way it does, for most of us.
Mhm.
So, different things, whatever might be something in pop culture that comes up. I
Mhm.
see it and I think, oh, isn't that chiropractic? Like when you go to a movie and you go, oh, that's so chiropractic,
Mhm.
So that's those are the prompts I use every month. It just is a function of whatever's going on in my life or whatever's going on
Mhm.
in the world. Um,
Mhm.
because I think we can draw just about everything back to chiropractic or to one of the principles of chiropractic, right? So,
Mhm. No, I love it, and I'd love for you to reflect on what it was within you that attracted you to take on leadership positions. If you had a student that said, "Hey, Judy, I see you've been involved in so many organizations that I also care about and I want to contribute to," how would you recommend a student ask themselves questions that would potentially guide them towards being actively involved, either in leadership positions or just sitting at tables and having conversations with fellow students about solutions that could potentially improve the lives of fellow students, improve the school's infrastructure to support students? I'm just curious how you would encourage them to engage.
so, um, how I might encourage them to engage might not be how they would engage. So I'm always conscientious of that. It's one of the
Mhm.
things in chiropractic we recognize that everyone is unique. We're all different. When we're all different in so many different ways, right?
Mhm.
So I feel like to be your best self, you have to be true to who you are. So for me, when Dr. Joe retired 10 years ago and I brought on two of my own associates, I realized that they needed to be people that were different than I am because practice members are also all different, and they want different things in our practice, right? So I have both a gentleman and a lady that work with me. The gentleman is really funny. He doesn't really care for kids, and he doesn't have kids. He's not particularly comfortable around kids, but that's who he is, and that's okay. Like, he doesn't have to be, he's attracting a completely different subset of the population to our office, and that's all right. I love kids. While I wasn't blessed with children of my own, I've really used my practice to feed that desire that I have to have children in my life. And so I have a lot of children in the practice, and a pediatric practice is important to me. Not just from a philosophical, not just from a personal, place where I don't have children and I love having children in my life, but from a philosophical place, because, chiropractic is good for anyone, but it's probably best for children. It's that thing, like, you let a tree grow crooked and then you try to fix it when it's 30 years old. Who would do that? You care for the tree when it's just a sapling, so that it can grow straight and it can grow it to its best, to its biggest, to its fullest, to its healthiest. That's when, so for me, that's what I see. Like, we want to be checking children as soon as possible, right? I get that everybody doesn't want to bring their child an hour after they gave birth, but as soon as possible. I value and honor whatever a parent's wishes are. Some parents are like, not before a month, not before they walk. My job is to educate them on how a child can be checked from the first hour. And then honor their decisions, help educate them as we go along. And so we see a lot of children. I see a lot of children in my practice. Dr. Vandy, not so many. But that might not be where a student's heart is, right? So a student has to be clear on who they are. And then I think chiropractic has lots of different avenues to express your own best self. Right. So like sports, that's not me. Children, that's me. So that's where I went. And I got involved as a student. And that would probably be the biggest thing that I would say. Like, as a student, don't think of yourself as outside the profession, like you haven't arrived yet. You are a very important part of the profession from the beginning of your education. You can do a lot of things as a student. In fact, that may be the best time to rub shoulders with people that you see working in the fields that are important to you, whether that be children, pediatrics. I have a lot of older people as well. I love to care on both ends. I'm like that dumbbell. Like, I like the people at either end, right? I see people in between too, but I love old people. And I love children. So that's kind of where I am. And maybe you're sports, maybe you're, I don't know what whatever your thing is, but you find that, and you can find that in school. Schools have all kinds of different clubs, and I would say be bold. If there was anything I could say, I would say be bold. Reach out to people. I would, if anybody reached out to me, I would absolutely return an email or a phone call or a Facebook message. Like, it's so easy to connect with people who are doing the kinds of things you hope to do someday. And if they didn't respond to you, I'm sure they would point you in a direction where you could make connections that would be important for you. I think our profession values students. And if that's not what a student is feeling, that I would just want to encourage them to know that we do, that we really do, and that you're a part of our profession, a very valued part of our profession, from the day you open your first book in chiropractic school. So
And
be bold and reach out.
And just to give you some insights, the pre-chiropractic program that we're trying to produce, create, and disseminate amongst college and high school students encourages them to create their own pre-chiro club, which is meant to almost mimic the experience of what it's like to start your own practice. And a club obviously runs on meetings and events and other functions, but you've sat in a lot of meetings throughout the years. I'm curious if you could give some suggestions on what are some of the most effective and efficient ways to run a meeting that is inclusive and allows everybody to come away from that meeting having felt that their voice was heard, having felt that they were actively participating and not just listening to somebody up at the front talk at them or dominate the time spent. Just because I'm really valuing that you have indeed spent thousands of hours probably at this point having conversations that are constructive conversations that are moving in certain directions.
Um, Thank you, Ben. Yeah, I have. And maybe sometimes better than others, been able to do that myself, or been in meetings where we as a team did that ourselves. But before I tell you that, I want to go back to something that you said in terms of starting a pre-chiropractic group. I love that idea. Um, and if you can't do that, sometimes numbers are small, sometimes schedules are tight, right? There are lots of things that kind of obstacles that present themselves. I would say, even before you go into chiropractic school, I have plenty of people in my office, practice members, and some children of practice members, and some friends that aren't even practice members approach me in my office. I'm always happy to talk to someone who's considering chiropractic as a career. You could come and shadow me, spend the day with me. Yeah, that's key. I would say, if you have chiropractic experience, have a chiropractor. I know your chiropractor would be happy to hear that you're considering it as a profession and would be happy to spend time with you. But if they're not, I'm going to tell you right now, you could call me, because I would be happy to kind of hold your hand through the process. And anybody is always welcome to shadow me. We have chiropractic students come all the time to shadow us in the office, and have, the Strauss Chiropractic Center now is 55 years old. As of October, be 55 years old. It was founded in 1967. So I can't tell you how many people have come through that office. Now chiropractors have come through that office.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really great way of learning more. And I'll tell you, I don't know about every chiropractor, but I would love to have someone who's interested do kind of an internship, work with me, see what it's like, do whatever. There's lots of things to do in a chiropractic office, and someone who's considering it as a profession would certainly not only be welcomed by the chiropractor, but really could benefit from the time in an office like that to see what's really happening behind the scenes. So I wanted to be sure to say that. With
And
regards,
just to interject, the reason you have to preface whatever this answer right here is going to be to my question is because in the pre-chiropractic program, we're actually requiring that they do spend several hours in offices
oh, great.
before they start a club because they have to have that experience. So it starts with some foundational material, maybe some chapters out of the blue books, or maybe watching some of these interviews and extracting meaning from them. And then the second part is them actually identifying all the different skill sets that chiropractors have that is not always up front and center when you're
Absolutely.
thinking about it. And then the third part is the experience of getting adjusted, observing adjustments, being in an office, feeling what it's like. And then the fourth part is learning through leadership, starting their own club, starting to really experience for
Amazing.
themselves what that's like.
Amazing. Listen, anyone who's connecting with you is going to do just fine.
Trying to ease
um,
the path, literally, as much as
Absolutely. No, this
possible.
is a great thing. This is a great thing. So, with meetings, I sometimes wonder if it's a skill set that can actually be taught, right? because I think that all of us, well, we have different varying degrees of ability to listen. And as a chiropractor, that it's really a skill set that needs to be worked on. It's not like medicine where people come in and they say da da da, and then you tell them what they're going to do, and they just listen to you, or they don't, I guess. But in chiropractic, that sometimes they're in our offices because they failed in medicine, or they're unhappy with medicine, or that just doesn't resonate with them. What resonates is listening and communication, and that's what chiropractic's all about, communication. So we need, as practitioners, to have good communication skills, not just our ability to relay information, but our ability to truly listen. And so the most productive meetings are when everybody in the meeting is doing that, right? They're all listening and they're all communicating with specific intent. If you're meeting with 3 people, 5 people, 20 people, the dynamics change. Well, you can't have all 20 people saying the same thing. It's just not efficient. Like once somebody says, this is a great idea, okay, everybody says, yeah, we're done. We move on, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and some of that I think comes from listening and then being courteous of other people's time, right? So that's not always the case when you're in meetings. So what happens when that's not going as planned? You need to learn to communicate with other people about the fact that maybe okay, we've got it, let's move on. Not in a mean way, not in a, in the interest of efficiency, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We got that, we voted on that, we're moving on.
Mm-hmm.
People do need to be heard, and so it's difficult to shut someone off. But if it's something that's beating a dead horse, let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think that comes with experience, Ben. And so the fact that your pre-Chiro students get this kind of experience is going to make for much greater leaders, better leaders in chiropractic further down the line. So that's very helpful and encouraging to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of us never got that
Mm-hmm.
in school. Who really teaches that? Maybe they teach it now. They didn't teach it 50 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
But
It's
all about
just about
communication.
creating a culture, and you talk about listening, and I think that some of my biggest frustrations when I do join, say, a committee or I take a leadership position is if we're having a conversation in a group format or even in class or club meetings, there's always like these dominant forces that really, like you said, are not taking as much of an interest and care in the perspective of everybody in the room. And I just remember being in a couple of leadership groups, and obviously I'm wanting to see more groups get created through the pre-Chiro clubs. And I just want to set like some standards and culture based on people who have been in classrooms and seen ways, like you just gave some strategies there on how we can just keep moving through the agenda, how we can have everybody share, maybe like if they disagree or if they have different perspectives they share. If they agree, then they can just say that I agree and we keep it moving. So I appreciate you giving your best effort to kind of describe the dynamics that best
I've
help
always
support.
been, both in my political endeavors and in my efforts with Sherman College on their board of trustees. I'm just off a 4-year term as their chair. I always try to bring it back to us as a team, that what we're doing is for the betterment of, at that point, Sherman College. This isn't about me. This isn't about any of the individual members of the committee. This is about Sherman College. right? And so we just need to stay focused on our bigger vision, that we're all on the same team. And when we voted for whatever different things would come up, we agreed that whatever the vote was the vote. And then we all got on board with however the vote went, because teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, that probably more than anything is keep your vision high level, right? It's not about me. It's not even about the people in the room. There's always a bigger vision. That's true in our offices as well. It's not about me. It's not about the person that works at the front desk. It's about what we're trying to accomplish there. And so I always felt like that brought us back on track, no matter, where your deliberations take you, and whatever your committees might be. We always have to return to, why am I here? Really? Why am I doing this? What's important here? And stay focused on that.
Awesome. I love the substance of these conversations. It's really, yeah, I'm trying to act as the pre-Chiro student, right? That's what this whole dynamic is here. So
you're awesome. I think you're awesome, and to even take the energy, the time, really shows your heart, Ben, that you care enough about the profession that you're willing to start at the beginning, which is, I don't know anybody else that's doing that, and I think could really make a difference. And that's really the story of my life, not because I chose that, but because I fell into that. And if more people could intentionally fall into that, we could really not just make great practitioners, but groom great leaders. And we need leaders. And the world needs leaders in every profession, in every walk of life, and in every corner of the world. And I think what you're doing could really help that. And we're going to see some great people come out of your efforts. So thank you very much for the work you're doing.
Yeah, I'm here for that. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. Well, that's it. Sweet.